intro to Rails. I'm not going to go into some of the cool different things that you can do. If you want to talk to me about that later, I'd love to talk about anything from security to texting. So that's some of the stuff that I've been playing with. But right now, I'm using Rails 4.0 and Ruby 2.0 just for the sake. If anyone's interested, I'll post this later on GitHub. Let me know. I'll post a README with all the different steps that I did and where I did them. That way you could go back through and see it. There's other tutorials online as well. So, but let's get started. So the first thing, not control new. So the first thing that you want to be doing is you want to be running Rails new Blogger. And so the app we're going to be making today is Blogger. And there's a bunch of different commands that you can be running on the command line, which will make your life a little bit easier. And so to start off any project, you want to run Rails new and then whatever the application name is. And so the nice thing about this is it'll create a project for you, which we can then go find. I'm using RubyMine for the record. It is free for students through, it's not IntelliJ, it's a company, what? JetBrains, yes. JetBrains, free for students, so definitely check it out. But I'm going to open this up, and you can see it's generating a lot of different files, and we'll go through these and kind of how they work. But that's what Rails New does for you. And right now, I'm going to steal a gem file that I've already got set up. And does everyone know what a gem file does? Give a short intro. Basically, a gem file allows you to pull in different libraries. So instead of saying at the top of each file, say, I need to require this library in this file, you just require all the libraries in one spot. You can manage everything there. And if you notice down here, I've got development and I've got production. And the idea of that is actually so that you can use different gems in different environments. So you see I have better errors right here. That helps in the production one or in the development one where I can type in different things, gives me a little console to play with. So I can see, okay, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? How can I fix this? And production doesn't have it because I don't want users to be able to see that and play with the system on the external stuff. But to get all these gems to install now, you need to run a simple command. And so to install it, oh, sorry, I didn't enter into Blogger. To install is bundle install, and you can see it saying using Rails 4.0, RDocs, Unicorn, whenever. So, but right now we're gonna take we're gonna go over here. I'm gonna cd Blogger, and I'm gonna run Rails server. And so just by running Rails new, it sets up something that you can go to localhost 3000 and your website's running. This is kind of the just intro page until you replace and create a new homepage for your site. And so they're telling you, hey, here's how you get started. But what we're going to do to get started is to actually run a command called Rails generate. And so this can be used for a number of different things. And it could also be shortened, as I'll shorten it later, to just Rails G. And so Rails generate, the idea is you can generate scaffoldings, migrations, stuff like that. And so I'll go over what migration is. I won't do one in the presentation, but migration is, say you've got a database. Does everyone know what a database is? Okay. So say you've already created a database, it has a schema. The way Rails does things, instead of you just going and saying, changing the schema, which you can do, definitely not the way you should do it though, is you'll make a migration. And basically what it does is it adds whatever columns you want onto the table, or it removes whatever columns you want taken off the table. So the nice thing though is we're going to switch back to scaffold here, because that's what we're going to be doing. Is scaffolding helps you create a CRUD environment. And so it'll create all the different, and CRUD stands for create, read, update, destroy. And that's what a lot of different web sites use as kind of their model for their database and how you interact with it. But what Scaffold does is it actually allows you to create views. It creates all your views for you by just some, as Ruby says, black magic. A lot of people refer to it. But it'll create the controllers that is controlling all the data that's going in and the models. So it does a lot of work for you, as you'll see as soon as I hit this command. And see how it's creating all these routes. It's creating tests for you as well with the RSpec right here. I'm not going to go over testing, but to understand this a little bit more, what I just did is I created a post scaffolding. So everything is in there is going to be located on the posts of that we're going to be posting on our website. So the different in the blogs. So it's got a title, which is a string, and it's got a post, like the content, which will be text. And so you'll see that as we're going on. But if we go now to here, it's going to run into an error. And I kind of want to point out this error just in case you ever run into it. It tells you exactly what to do right here. You don't need to add the Rails environment development. You can just run rake db migrate. And so this is because if you add or change the database, you need to update the website and tell Rails, hey, this needs to happen for you to do anything successfully. So simply by running db migrate, it fixes everything. And so as I was saying before with that posts, you can now go to /posts on your website now, and it'll actually have you the ability to create, destroy, update posts. But before we create a post, we need to make a post. So we could say, how tall is Tall Paul? So Tall Paul is 6'4". And so we create the post. It lets you edit the post if you want to come back. And this all was generated just because you said generate scaffolding. It does all that for you. It's a lot of stuff on the back end, which you'll learn later on as you go more in. But see, now I updated the post. If I go back, you can now see that it's got a list here where it's got the title, it's got the post, and it's got show, edit, or destroy. So we could create that. But that's only one part of the project with Rails. And so we are going to generate a static controller, because there in your project, you'll find that there are a lot of times you want to have static pages like about, frequently asked questions, stuff where your content's not really changing that much and you're not generating new data off of it. So there are gems out there like high voltage, but I figured I'd show you something by hand if you want to do it that way. And so as you can see here, I did Rails generate and then controller. And so this will actually just make a controller and make views for that controller. And doesn't make a model. And the model, as I was talking before about a little bit, is kind of how all the data goes through. So if we go back to the posts here, when this is our view. I don't know if you guys have gone over model view controller too much, but Rails very much focuses on that. And so the first thing that happens is you see the view and you click on something, and that, by me clicking on new post, actually makes a call to the controller and says, hey, where am I supposed to be going? And when I enter information into here, that actually is going through and is just in the view until you hit create post. Once you go into hit create post, it goes through and it checks first your model. And I'll go over the model a little bit, and it validates that all the data in there is correct, because you can put validations to make sure users aren't just messing with you. And this is definitely something you should consider looking into, because say you just want a real number, you don't want someone to be giving you an integer or something, a string. So, but I'll dive into that in a little bit. But going back to here, oh, sorry, I want to copy that before. So we now have a static page controller here that we can open up. And in here, you need to add, I'm going to add a home method. And so in Ruby, all you have to do to declare a method is saying define the name you want. And the cool thing about this is right now we're in apps controllers, and you can see it's already made the post controllers for us and made the stack page controllers for us. But if we go down to the routes, which is under config, you'll be able to see it says routes.rb. It has a lot of text in here. It's good to read through if you're not quite sure, but for the time being, just to cut everything out and simplify it a little bit, we're going to just remove it and see how it says resources posts. The resources post takes care of when you click the new post, it'll say, okay, where do I need to redirect them? Or when you're clicking destroy posts, where do I need to redirect them? And that's kind of the basics of that. And so whenever you use scaffolding, it actually takes care of all of the different routing for you. You can write the routes by hand, and that is definitely something that's good for when you're trying to do some things that are a little bit more advanced. But when you're making static pages, there's a few different ways you can do it. So I found one way over this last summer that is pretty convenient, and I'm going to walk you through it, and I'll show you a little bit as we go through as to how convenient it is at the very end. But right now it's going through and it's grabbing the static page controller. It's running through each of the methods and it's saying do action. And so what this is really doing is condensing your code, because every time, if I was to write one just for the if I was to write just for the home method or the home page method or route that we want, I would be doing this exact thing where I'm following it saying, when they type in \home, that's the first part right here, where do we want to send them to? What page? And so we'd be sending them to static pages because it would hit that controller first. That's where we want to. So static page controller. And then and then we'd be redirecting to home. And we'd say, so that's the basics of getting, and to simplify it, we can just run through all of the different methods in the static control, and I'll talk a little bit more about why it's important to have those methods in the first place. But even if we define \home, that's not necessarily what we want. What we really want when we're making a home page is to actually have a root, and so whoops, can't copy the R there. And so by making a root and pointing it to static pages home right there, when we come back here, whoops. Oh, it's missing the template. Great error to see. So see how it's saying it can't find static pages home, which we were just trying to redirect it to down here. So to fix that, all we have to do is, I'm going to grab this, go up here, and say, oh, hi guys. Save that, and there you go. And so all that, the error that I was showing there before was just saying that you're missing the page it's specifically looking for. And so if we want to go and edit that page, you can go find it under View, Static Pages, and Home. And the static page folder was actually created when we ran the generate controller static pages. So now you can add, maybe you want to add a file about.html.erb, and we can put one saying this talk is all about intro to Rails. And if we tried to now go back to up here to about, we're going to have a problem. It's going to say, no, we couldn't find a route that matched that. And the simple way to actually fix that is if we go up here, we do define about and hit end, and we refresh. Oh, apparently I can't spell talk though. But see how with generating the static controller and being able to define all the different methods in there, and then using that same static controller method that I posted in routes right here, instead of us having to define every route, we can just say, go define this for us. That way we don't have to worry about it. And you'll hear people talk about Ruby and Rails as very much black magic, and that is a little bit of the black magic, but it takes care of a lot of issues for you. So right now we're going to post. All right. Let us show you some posts in here. So part of the reason why you should be defining different things in your stack controller is so that you can pass in information to your views. And so if you're making a blogging website, that probably one of the big things you want to have is all the blogs or posts of the blog on there. And so we can do this simply by passing it in. You can call all the data from the view. But I've done that. I don't recommend it. It's very bad. It exposes a lot of different things that, from a security point, that you don't want people to be able to see. So because this isn't a controller, people can't get access to that. And so if you pass it in through there, that way you can still get all the data to your view, but you don't have to worry about someone doing something malicious. So posts is equal to post.all. And if we go up to our home page, oh, I didn't add the code for that. Let's just grab this real quick. And we'll go into static page home. We'll place this, and before I post this, I want to point out something right here, because I'm sure you guys have done a little bit of Ruby, and you guys understand that .each kind of iterates through all of the different methods in the array of posts there. And you'll see these funny brackets around it. The idea of that is it's in a .erb, and the .erb at the end of the HTML actually signifies saying, hey, look for something that's Ruby in here. And if I change this to home.html, this wouldn't understand any of the Ruby syntax I put in there. And if I take out that, you'll see it goes white immediately. That's because it's just treating it like regular HTML. But now this will actually simplify everything. And if I do this, how tall is tall is the first blog post. If we do local posts new, and I post that, and then I refresh this page, you'll be able to see that it's grabbing the next post, and it's getting fed all the different posts through the controller, because every time someone refreshes the page, it's saying, all right, pass in all the posts. And how do we pass it in? We go through and call .all. And so post.all runs through the database of posts, or the table of posts, and says, grab me each one. And you can do different selections, like if you want to do where, or you could do one by find all by created or by title. But for now, we're just going to stick with all. And so I'm going to add a little bit of CSS to make this look a little nicer. And where to add CSS, I'm not going to go over Bootstrap or anything. Highly recommend you check it out and look into it. But for basic style sheets, it will create some different style sheets for you. You can see posts, you can see static page, but it also comes with the basic scaffolding. And so I'm going to throw this in here at the bottom. And this will just make it a little bit nicer. Oh, I didn't add that stuff yet. So now we're going to add this into the homepage. Let's get rid of about. And so we're going through each post. And the only difference really is me adding two things. One, it's got some divs just to make it look a little prettier. Two, you'll notice it says HTML safe. That is something, so if we want to go back, I'll refresh this. It looks a little prettier, not too much. But say I edit this and I put some HTML inside my post. And so this right now is actually italicizing it. Whoop, thank you. There you go. I do update post and we go back in here. See how it's now italicized right here, the tallest of Paul's? And so the idea of .html safe is allows you to change things in there. But right now, I'm going to show you, I know you guys in PSE aren't using Devise, but something if you do create your own Ruby app or Rails app, I highly recommend you looking into because of Devise has been well tested. It's a library or a gem, as people in the Ruby community like to call it, that will do all the user authentication for you. It handles pretty much anything you can think of, which makes your life a lot easier instead of you handwriting your own. So all you have to do is to install it originally is run Rails generate devise install. If you go to devise gem, it'll actually tell you all about that and how to do everything. And so what we're going to do is we're going to follow their instructions. Highly recommend that. And I'm just going to development.rb. I'm going to add in the mail configure that they want. I'm also going to add something in that you'll see right here. It says class notice and class alert. That is actually for when someone sends you like a flash message inside your application. It'll make it look a little bit nicer, a little cleaner, but I don't have the HTML for it, so it's not going to do that. And then we're going to run Rails. And so right now, you could leave it as is and just run the model. And if you're okay with how their views look and how they set everything up, but a lot of times you like to play with things. So running the Rails generate, see how it says G devise, it's standing for generate there, as I was speaking about before. So it just created all the different views for you. And we are now going to go in and actually create the user model. And so it comes with a defined methods, and you can change that, or not defined methods, defined attributes that you can change later. But just by running Rails generate devise user, it will create a user class for you. And I'm going to migrate this because otherwise we're going to have issues. And because I changed something that this, I know you guys didn't see it, but in initializer or environments, because I changed something in environments and I added config action mailer, you should restart your server just because you could have issues with it. So also going to show you a quick shortcut just because I'm lazy. I'm sure you guys are lazy. So instead of actually having to type out Rails server, you can actually type Rails S and it'll do the same thing. But also showing you guys some other cool things on the command line. So you can do Rails console. Oh, if I can spell. I'm just going to be lazy. You can run Rails. Oh, that's why. There's an E. But Rails C stands for Rails console. And so I can do post.all right here. And I can see all the different posts. And I can actually change this. So say I say post.find1. I can do A equals that. And so now when I post A, you can see, or just print A, you can see the ID, the title, what time it was created at, last time it was updated. And so I could do a dot title here is equal to how tall is tall Paul, and say I want to add a question mark there. Just pop that right in. Problem is though, if when you're doing it on the console, you have to make sure that you do one last step, because that will change the specific variable you're using right now, which I'm using A. But now I need to save A. And so now that I've saved A, it'll actually update it in your database. And so that's your database. And that gives you, using the console, a bit more control over everything. And it makes it a little bit easier sometimes. But I don't recommend you changing too much on here. So going down a little bit, let's generate a post, or a comment, sorry. And so I'm going to post that. And so, as I was saying before, Rails generate scaffolding. It's going to take care of a lot of the different moving parts of Rails for you, which makes it really nice. We're going to call it comment, but you'll see, and what Rails does a lot of times is it actually makes it the plural, so it'll be comments. And Rails takes care of all that, and they do pretty well with that. So right now, you'll be able to see that each comment has context, which will be the text of whatever people are posting. It has a user ID, which is an integer, and has a post ID, which is an integer, and that's basically a way to, I don't know if you guys have gone over relational databases, but it's a way to kind of link all different databases together. That way, you can use has many and belongs to, and how we define it here is a comment belongs to a user, and comment also belongs to a post. But a post can have many comments, because you can have a bunch of people commenting on it. Think about Reddit. So that's why we're doing this. There is a different way that you can also, instead of saying user ID integer, you can actually use resource, but that's a little bit more advanced, so I'm just going to kind of skip that, but definitely something to check out if you're interested in that. So go run that. You're going to see it pop up with a bunch of different files it's created. And it's also going to say, hey, we've got conflict with some of your scaffolding because I added those special style sheets into the scaffold. I'm just going to say, no, I don't want you to overwrite it. And we're now going to be able to come in here and see the comments. Oh, we forgot to run rake db migrate. Does anyone remember what that does? You got it, come on. Yeah, it merges the data, it updates the database and says, hey, add this new table in. Because Rails can see, hey, you've got all this stuff for it, but you haven't actually added it together. Add this to the database. And so see, now it's added, and we can refresh, and we can add new comments. And so you can see the comment has a text area, it's got user's number and post number. And so we could manually go in and be like, I don't think tall Paul is really 6'4". Whoop. And I could say, actually, before we do that, we should add a user. And so normally you can, sorry, localhost. So normally you will have up at the top kind of a header, and you can hit sign in or sign up and all that. But just for the sake of not doing that. And you can actually go to user sign up, which was created. If we go back to I'm going to close this for now. If we go back to the routes file, you'll see that Devise created its own set of routes that are specific for users. And say I want to mess up this just so we can see all the different routes. By messing this up, it actually shows you all the different routes that you can go to, whether you're looking at all the different comments, which is index, whether you're creating a new comment, whether you're create a new or similar. I'm not going to get into that right now. Whether you want to edit, whether you want to show just a particular one. But you can see Devise create a bunch of ones for creating passwords, session, if someone's creating a session, whether they're just signing up with registration, and it all links there. So we're going to sneak back over to sign up though and create a user, because otherwise, if we come down to here and do Rails console user.all, there's no users. If I make one though, so one of the things that comes with validation is it'll tell you when you mess up, which is a great thing because it stops users from creating a user without verifying that their password is correct. It's one example right there. We'll go through validation a little bit. I think I have to log out. Nope, perfect. So now you can see I just said, hey, go look at the users again, and it updated in the database and said, hey, pull all the different users. We're there. Great, we can now start doing some relational database stuff. And so just because I know who I am and what number I am, I'm number 1, I can put user 1 and post 1. And so just because I know all that data, but that's not really what users are going to be doing if you think about it, because users aren't going to know exactly what post they are on Reddit. That would be crazy. I'm 2 million, whatever, I'm probably sure it's in the trillions by now, but hey, we'll leave that one alone. So if we go back, you will see that. But if we were on the home page, it's not going to show up. We need to add that code in now to actually kind of let it show up. But before we do that, let's go into our database, or into our models. And so I've been talking about this a little bit before. Most of what you do when you're working in Rails will be in this folder called app. It's got assets, which I like to describe as it makes everything look pretty. It's got controllers, which can, don't move things. It's got controllers, which are controlling the data flow, whether it's going out to the views or whether it's coming in and needs to be processed and handed off to somewhere else. You've got helpers, which I'm not going to show you in this application, but helpers are really convenient in the fact that if you're doing something continuously, you can actually define it in there. So instead of you in your views using 5 or 6 lines of code to do one thing and doing it in multiple views, you can actually just call the helper method, and in the helper method define everything, and it'll do it for you, which will simplify your views and simplify the code so that when you need to update something, instead of updating in 5 different spots, you just update it in one, and it'll go out to all the different locations. You have mailers, which is if you're sending out emails and stuff, but we're not going to do that either. And then views and models. And we've been going into the views, but we haven't really touched the models. And so I'm going to close a bunch of these so it's easier to see. But in models here, we have 3. I'm going to open them all. And you can see right now, because we're in users, it has some stuff generated for you. And if you notice, the scaffolding didn't create anything else for us because it doesn't know what to put in here. And so models is an important part for a couple different reasons. One, it helps you define your relational database. And as I was saying before, the belongs to and has many. And if you don't do that, you can't do some kind of the Ruby-esque magic, which makes things really convenient, really nice, as well as your databases won't be, the tables in your database won't be set up correctly to work together as they should. But in here, you can also do validations. And validations is making sure that all of your inputs are actually correct and working the right way as you're expecting it. So you're not expecting a string and be given an integer or a float. So right now we're going to say we're in the comments. So can anyone tell me what the relation with comments and posts are? So yeah, so comments has one post. So in Ruby, it belongs to posts, and so that defined is the defined that. Now, what's the relationship with comments and a user? A, a, exactly, and so that's the belongs to again. So this comment belongs to that user, and so awesome. Now, if we go into posts and we're talking about the users again, what's the relationship between the post and the users? Yes, so the post belongs to the user. And what about the comments, if there's any comments there? Whoop, didn't mean to do that. There you go. So a user can, or a post can have many comments. And you'll see why this is important later on. And so just to finish this out, user has many posts, oops, and has many comments. So now if I sneak back into here, so something small that we could do right here is in posts we could validate, because right now if we go up here, we go to posts, we could just do new post, create post. There's nothing there. That's useless. So what if, oh, sorry, here we go. We say validates presence of the title. So if we do new post, create post, well, it's saying that the title can't be blank. And just by adding one line of code there, it does so much for you. Now we're going to change. Let me just copy that real quick. Perfect. So as I was saying before, one line of code, just adding that validates, saying that we're expecting a title to be there, helps prevent users from giving you nothing or giving you garbage data, and keeps your code both clean and running, because otherwise people could very much break your application. So right now we're going to go out of here and go back to our home. Does anyone remember how to get back to that home page that we've been using so far? Yeah, so views. There you go, and then home. And so I'm just going to add, all right, so what I just added right here is for people to be able to make comments on the home page. So you'll see if I refresh this page, it'll people will be able to add content. They'll be able to say which user it was and post. And so I basically just went into the comments section here, and you'll see when you're looking at a Rails project, there's a bunch of different files in there. There's only a few that are really important to you, because like you'll expect, oh, if I want to make a new comment, I'm just going to go under new. That's wrong. And you'll see that it says render form. And the nice thing about Rails is they try and simplify everything as much as possible, because if you go under form right now, you'll see that it's got a bunch of different fields that can be reused by different things, whether you're updating or not, and it'll just keep pointing you back to here. So instead of, as I was saying, updating in multiple different places, you can just say, hey, go to this one spot, you update in one spot, and you're good to go. And so I actually just pulled everything right here from our forms. And so I pretty much just went copy paste and dropped it in here. And this is just with inside of this particular comment. So how do we actually get these comments to show up? I'm just trying to keep it simple. Just doing a create off of that, but there are ways to play around with it and make your code simpler, but just for the sake of pulling it in, I'm going to do it like this. But that's definitely not a bad idea to check out later. If you want to talk to me, we can talk after. But what if you want to put all the comments underneath the basic post or the content? And does anyone have any idea? Yes, no? All right. Well, Ruby, yes. There's a few different ways. I don't recommend, you could do it this way where we go under controllers, we go to static pages, and we add at comments at all, and then we could go through and iterate through all of them. But there is a cleaner way, which I'll show you in a second. At comments dot each do comment. Oh, sorry, that should not be. We'll do end, and then we'll do, and so this is actually content. And so this is a great time to point out, you see how I was saying before, this helps with the interpretation of what to put here. You can see this part is actually just saying, hey, this is Ruby, run it. But then you'll notice the next line has an equal sign. The difference between those is the equal sign says, hey, show this on the page. We want to display this. So if we come up here, you can see it's now added the comment that I wrote earlier saying, I don't think Tall Paul really is 6'4". Or we could do right here, down here, wow, that must have been bad for you. User 1, post 2, create comment. We go back to our home page, we'll refresh it. Problem is, see, it's getting added onto both of them. That's not really what we want, and this is kind of why we use relational databases, is instead of just passing in all the comments in our static page, we can actually cut this out. And I'm going to just, for the sake of convenience, add, what I'm going to do is, so this is all the posts. This has the current post right here, the blog post. It's going through and it's grabbing each comment that it has that relation to that we defined earlier with the has many, belongs to, and then it's going over each one and saying, all right, give us the content or give us the user ID. I'm just going to get rid of the user ID for now. And if we go up here, oh, undefined method comment. What line is that? Oh, that's a great error that I'm. Should be comments. Kristen, hey, thank you. So now you can see that these are in the correct locations, and it's saying, so that way you don't have to be passing in all that extra data. The views are a little bit lighter. And then, I'm sure you don't, this is not the best way. I will comment that initially, but you don't want to have the user saying, hey, how do I get, how do I know what user number I am? Or saying, how do I know what post number this is? And you don't need to be posting that, and you can kind of take care of some of this behind the scenes. And so in here, you'll be able to see on the home page that it's got it's in this form 4. And so what form 4 does is it's basically a form that you fill out on any website. And this one's specific for comments. And it'll say, go through and make this new comment for me. Problem comes in is it's displaying all that information. There's a way called hidden fields so that we can hide the user ID. I'm going to post the post ID right underneath it so you can see it. But you can see it's affecting the same thing, except for it's, instead of saying number field, we're saying hide this field so the users won't see it. And we're actually, I'm going to take this out. I'm going to take this out, which will reduce it. So it'll hide both those fields and you won't be able to see them, which makes it nice. But you won't be able to see them only on the if you're looking at just the HTML. If you actually inspect the element, you can go in and let's just inspect. You'll be able to see that there's a field right here. And if you go into the field, you'll be able to see it's got a value of 1, which you could edit and change. So definitely something to kind of keep in mind if for security. And there's better ways to do it, but just for simplicity and something just to show you that there is hidden fields and a way to do it. And that going into devise right now, I'm going to show you how I actually populate the fields. Basically what I said is grab with this field, the value I want you to insert here is the current user ID. And so current user is the user that logged in. And you guys saw me create the user and logging in. And current user is something Devise provides for you. And so that way you can just say .id, it'll grab that, or I could have said .email. And it will have grabbed tmd6624@ret.edu. And if you can see here, it's saying grab the, for post, it's saying for the value, grab the blog post.id. If you notice, oh, can't see it, gotta scroll up. If you notice for each post, we do a blog post, and that's where it's really grabbing it from. It's showing, because it's all within one post, and then once it goes through and grabs the second post, they'll change that from post ID 1, it'll be 2. And to prove that, why is there a third box? Oh, because we had the empty one with no question. And so see, we could actually go back through and we go to posts, we can destroy that post and we refresh it, it's gone. So as I was saying before, Rails has a lot of magic, but the destroy command is a nice one. And that's through the routing that I was telling you about. But let's see. I think should probably go to the doctor. And so by hiding everything, you can see it goes back. It's going to the comments. That's not exactly what you want to be doing every time you add a comment. Just you can see that got added into the right place because the hidden fields said, hey, this is comment number 2 because of Ruby iterating over it, which is what you should be doing. But it's not redirecting you to the right location. That's something that we can definitely work on. And so redirect. Up here we go. And so where the redirect is actually happening is in the controller. As I was telling you about before, the controller really controls everything that goes on with Ruby. And so in the show, what you want to be doing with instead of responds with, because responds with will redirect you back to the comments and take care of that. And if it has an issue, it'll point out the issue. But if you do a redirect and if you notice root path, the redirect to root path is bringing us back to our home page after you add the comment, and then the at comment will bring back any of the errors that you have if there is one. If not, it'll say, yep, you successfully made one, so let's try this. I think he is 6'5". You can see up at the top, comment was successfully created, and that was because of the at comment that it responded with. But so the last thing I'm going to kind of go over a little bit is headers and footers. I'm not going to create a footer, but I'm going to do a little bit of a header, because one of the things that you can do is, let's say we're in our home page and you want to be able to navigate to the that about page that we had created earlier. Well, what you could do is you could make a list. This is just some basic this is just basic HTML that we're doing right here. And so the UL, it just says unordered list. LI is just the list item. And and then if you notice, I added the show part right here, where it's saying show this is important. So now if I just say redirect, I'm just going to copy it here. Hold on. Oh, actually, I know what I want to do. First, before I do that. So if I do root path and about path, what the nice thing about all the different views is that I showed you that this page earlier where it goes to an invalid path, and when you're in development environment, you can see all these. What I'm going to do right now is refresh this page, and you can see that going to root path here and about path are really just defining go to backslash, which is home, and go to backslash about, which would be your about page. That's really where you're being redirected. And that's not the Ruby magic that you necessarily don't think about. And then I want to link to home, and I want to link to about, and then I go back here. This is going to change. Now these two are links, and we can go to about. And once again, my talk is messed up. But you can notice that the header didn't transfer over. That's not really useful. Why are you going to redefine it in multiple places? And so one thing that Rails does is it adds a layout section in the view. And so you'll see how it says layouts. Right now, it just says application. And so in the application, you can see it starts off with the correct HTML. It goes through, adds some JavaScript for you, adds some, it adds a body here. I added the alerts from earlier, and it has yield. To explain what yield is, yield pretty much says whatever page we're displaying, whether it's the comments, the posts, static, just push that there. And so that's what it's doing. And so in here, we could add a header file, but where we want to define it is up here. So we could do header.html.erb. And so instead of using this code that we wrote in the home method, the home file, let's move that over here. And then in our application, we can actually call render, not record, render. And I mentioned this briefly before, but what you can push or point this to is layouts and then header. And I know this isn't going to work. I'm going to show you why. Because you're going to go and refresh and be like, why didn't this work? If you notice here, we're doing the Ruby code. And what's the difference between the yield and the render statement here? Oh, there's a little. Yeah. Why isn't it pushing out to the web page? Exactly. You both. And so as soon as we add the equal sign, it adds the home page, and thus it's on both. And so that's going to conclude my kind of intro to Rails. I tried to cover as much of kind of basics of the views, controllers, models, which is the MVC model that Rails really tries to focus on and how it handles all the data. If anyone has any questions, I'm open to that. If not, I'm definitely available to talk to you a little bit more about some different things later on, things I might have left out or not done as nicely. Yeah, I've actually, this is the first time I've made like a blogger. Most of the websites I've made, you haven't had to do that. And so I haven't played with it. I know it's possible, but it would actually take me a little bit of, you know what, let's try it because I'm down for trying something new. Let's, we're, um, so render, the only problem that I foresee with this, just doing it correct, is that it's not in the post controller. Or sorry, comments. So comments form, there we go. And so in here, you would need to then go into comments and add the hidden fields as I was saying before. So nice shortcut, but yeah, no, that works actually pretty nicely. Awesome. Any other questions? Yeah. No, that's actually something that Rails does really well. The only time you ever have to run rake DB migrate is when you're creating new tables or adding columns or stuff, or removing columns, stuff like that. And the only time that you really should ever have to restart the Rails server is when you're editing things in your config, such as if we go in here, you'll see that there's the initializers, environments, and those are really when you need to restart your Rails project just for safety. The roots, no. You can create new roots. As you noticed, watch, I will go create a brand new one. If, or the controllers, let's add a frequently asked questions page. So all I have to do, because I showed you before, so frequently asked questions, we go down to the views, static page, new file, and we add frequently asked questions, html.erb. Sorry, h1. And with you notice I didn't hit Control Save. I didn't do anything. If we go to, if I can click here, frequently asked questions, it pops up. It does all. It's very much part of the Rails magic, and it's the reason in the routes file. It's in the. Oh, it's a lot easier than Django, and it's if you notice in the routes, what I did here is I added the actions. And so every time I'm adding a static page, I can do that. If you're if you're running a scaffolding, it'll actually create for you, as I was saying before, with the posts. And so you have to run rake db migrate, but that's not because of the routes. It's because of the database. Yeah. you would have to write that yourself. You do need some kind of a foreign key for just explanation quick for people who don't know what foreign key is. Foreign key is kind of that linking attribute so that when you're doing a has many, so if a comment doesn't know what post it belongs to, you have to give it that ID. So it does have to have something there. And something you could look into is resources. Resources would let you just say like user, and then instead of saying integer, it would say resources, and it would just return the entire user, not just the user's ID. So, any other questions? So basically, you want to, whenever someone's mistypes a URL, to actually redirect them to the correct URL. Yep, so you can do that, and basically it's still following the same get method. So when someone types in /FAQ1, if you want it to redirect to just FAQ, it's still saying whatever controller it is, and then basically backslash the action. So that's how you do it. So if you want FAQ to, you really want to mess with someone, you want to redirect to the about page. You could do that where you would say /FAQ, and then you would say, because it's in the stack page controller, you'd still use that, but instead of doing FAQ here, you'd put about. So if you're just trying to mess with people and troll them, I support that. But any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed the pizza.